Hello, everyone. A very good morning to all of you here in the US, and a very good evening to everyone in Kenya. I hope you are
Thank
doing
you.
well and have your cup of tea or coffee ready to listen to this wonderful conversation. I am your host, Dr. Meghna Thacker, a naturopathic physician and author of 7 Steps to Heal Your Thyroid. I am delighted to welcome Dr. Ameet Aggarwal on my Facebook Live talk show today. Hi, and thank you for joining me.
Hi, Meghna. Hi, everyone. Greetings from Kenya.
Yay!
Yeah, lovely to be with all your energies right now. Thank you.
Absolutely. So he is a naturopathic doctor and a psychotherapist. His best-selling book, Heal Your Body, Cure Your Mind. Here it is. Yay!
Oh, wow.
I love it.
Thank you for getting it.
It's considered as one of the most comprehensive approaches to treat anxiety, stress, and depression. Dr. Ameet started mobile clinics for poor communities in Kenya through his charity, FIM Africa. You can read more about it on fimafrica.org. And when you buy his online course and book, which we are going to learn about really soon, you support his community work in Africa. I just think that's very neat. I'm going to ask him to share more about that. But our topic for today is integrated approach to mental wellness. So, Dr. Ameet, let me ask you a very basic question.
Yeah.
What do you mean by mental wellness?
Whew. Well, mental wellness, the absence of dis-ease and disease, right? So mental wellness is a sense of fulfillment, of security, of joy. So for somebody who's experienced anxiety or depression or some sort of mental illness, mental wellness is the absence of unease, intrusive thoughts, anxiety, paranoia, chronic sadness, low self-esteem. It's a sense of confidence, joie de vivre, and ability to move forward in life. Yeah, to somehow have the confidence to live fully without being intruded by thoughts that either are not yours or belong to a different time or different past due to trauma, or just a sense of distorted reality. Yeah. So some people who don't feel emotionally well have a paradigm that their world is not safe, or they're not loved, or they're not safe themselves, or they cannot get what they want. There's a lot of compensation in their behavior because of these dysfunctional, unhealthy thoughts. I don't like to use the word dysfunctional, unhealthy, because these thoughts come for a reason, and I'll tell you why when we talk about trauma. Yeah, these are valid thoughts people have where they don't feel good about themselves. So I would say they're adjusted thoughts, adjusted paradigms based on previous traumas.
Okay. So, yeah, what do you mean by trauma, and what kinds of trauma can one be affected by, basically?
So trauma is really any hurtful or surprising experience that blocks your authentic expression or authentic ability to live fully. So trauma is usually a painful event, something that causes pain or a disturbance of your mind. And it lingers in your system, in your subconscious, or what we call the limbic brain, or even in your body cells, for a prolonged time, that causes physiological changes, which we'll talk about, and it also causes mental changes. So trauma can be anything from a divorce, a death in the family, an affair, or a financial difficulty, losing your entire bank account, whatever it is, right? Or even being in a terrorist attack. So I've treated a lot of people who have been in terrorist attacks here in Kenya, and they've seen bomb blasts, they've seen people die in front of them. These are all traumatic experiences. So either witnessing an accident that is not directly related to you, or being in something that was harmful to you, both are traumatic. and both cause the fight or flight response, or both cause anxiety, terror, insomnia, or a change in beliefs about your safety, yourself, a change in your beliefs about other people, a change in belief about the environment around you. Yeah, and sometimes you're stuck with this change in belief and you don't get over it because your body needs that belief to keep safe. It pretends, it pretends that event is still there, so it keeps your body alert and guarded. But unfortunately, this chronic guarding uses up a lot of energy, leading to anxiety and depression. And I'll share that with you shortly. And there's a question around that soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you for explaining that. It really makes sense to me. So,
Mhm.
thank you for defining both these terms so we all understand. Now, how does trauma affect mental health?
Awesome. Okay, so trauma, it affects mental health in many ways, and I'll go through all of them. Yeah, well, as many as I can cover.
Yes.
So one is trauma creates what we call the fight or flight response. Okay, so your body has to make adrenaline, and adrenaline helps you either run away from a tiger or from a threat, or it causes you to freeze or to fight back. And so the fight or flight response, it's basically the trauma that stimulates your adrenal glands to make adrenaline to fight or flee. Now, the thing is, when you're traumatized, one is that you'll be fearful for a while because of the event. So you'll remain anxious or depressed or let down or disappointed or whatever feelings you have temporarily. So there's a temporary effect on mental health. Now, if the trauma is not resolved and you tuck it away somewhere, or you try and forget about it, or you just don't have the right counselor in front of you, the right therapist in front of you to help you heal the trauma, to resolve it fully, what happens is that trauma is stored in your body, in your limbic brain, some people say, in your subconscious. I believe it's stored everywhere in your system. And now that trauma, so you're living in a guarded way, in a compensated way, so your adrenal glands are still now working a bit more than they're used to. Yeah, because they have to cope with life in the new way that you see life. So you're using up your adrenal gland energy quite a lot, number one. Number two, we are chronically stressed in life. And phone calls, deadlines, financial issues, divorces, whatever it is. And this chronic stress also burns out your adrenal glands. So multiple factors are affecting your adrenal system now. And when your adrenal glands are burning out, you get a cortisol imbalance, which suppresses your brain chemicals. And these brain chemicals are serotonin, dopamine, melatonin, GABA. They're all your feel-good neurotransmitters. And so through the effect on the limbic brain and therefore on your adrenal system, chronic stress and trauma they build up and wipe your adrenal system out, causing the cortisol imbalance and therefore brain chemical imbalance, leading to anxiety and depression. That's one thing. Number two, I believe, doesn't necessarily, this is my own thought and based on my experience with acute trauma, it doesn't always depend on the adrenal system. It also, just acute trauma can change the wiring in your brain immediately, right? You're like, oh my God, life is not safe, or I'm a terrible person, or I don't deserve this anymore. Especially if you've been abused or victimized strongly, you go into these negative beliefs about yourself. And these beliefs themselves contribute to a sense of low self-esteem, low confidence, not feeling like going out. So symptoms of depression. Yeah. Those go hand in hand. And then, of course, when the adrenal glands are wiped out, this is the physiological stuff now, then we have also hormonal imbalances. And I'll talk about that leaky gut in the liver as well, related to hormones. But when you have a hormonal imbalance, either low progesterone or low testosterone, then you're also susceptible to depression and anxiety.
Okay.
So, yeah, go ahead.
No, it's amazing how our whole body, right, gets affected, as you're explaining, from the adrenals and the different hormones, and physiologically every cell in the body gets affected with the trauma. So thank you for sharing this very important topic, because I think there are so many people that tuck it away somewhere, as you're saying, and we learn to deal with life keeping this suppressed somewhere. And I think that has a huge impact on our health, and just the way we live our lives. So really wanting to know how you approach these cases.
So the key thing is not to tuck it away. Sometimes we feel we have to tuck it away because, I don't know, maybe especially men, I don't know, because they have this thought or there's a belief in society that men have to be really strong and tough and not show their emotions. But generally speaking, people try not to show their weakness in life, right? And I always say tears are a sign of truth, not of weakness. Yeah, so if you can express yourself truthfully, and there's techniques like, so I coach people how to be vulnerable and safe at the same time. So how to express themselves in vulnerability, because that's your place of power, right? If you can cry and say, hey, that doesn't feel right to me, and I'm really deeply hurt, without losing control of your stance, then you can express yourself authentically and really cry it out or express your anger or really show your real emotions and survive. Then you communicate more effectively to the person in front of you. And if you can support yourself emotionally in communication from a vulnerable place, you are likely to, overcome trauma through expressing, one. Number two, write about your feelings. And I share these techniques in my book and my online course, is how to write about your feelings in the right way. Thank you.
Of course. It's a very resourceful tool.
Yeah, there's a lot of details in there, actually. So writing about your feelings and identifying your feelings. So some people say they think they just hurt, but when they come closer to the feeling, it's actually they're either surprised or disappointed or angry, or they weren't expecting something. So if you can get down to that detail, like I didn't expect that, then you honor the true experience in the body. See? So I teach you how to write these things in either coaching programs or in the book or whatever. But what I want to remind people is, don't rely on cliche interpretations of your experience. So like some people will use the cliche word betrayed, for example, or hurt. Yes, that comes close to the truth, but if you can say, I was let down, I was disappointed, I was that was unexpected for me, then you gain back your power. Then you gain back your power in the experience, so that you're less of a victim of your interpretation of the event. Yeah, so rather than saying, oh, he abandoned me, just say, I didn't expect that person to abandon me. It was unexpected. By changing your language also, you regain power and lessen the trauma. The brain processes the trauma. I also do a lot of EMDR therapy with people, where I'll use eye movements, or if it's online sessions, then we'll use tapping to help the person process the feelings in the memory of the trauma. And when you process consciously these deep, deep feelings and the thoughts and beliefs you have around the trauma, then you come out of the trauma state, out of the victimized state, out of the helpless, collapsed state much faster. So then you're triggered less. You have less intrusive thoughts. You are reminded less about the events, because the emotional charge changes after these processing techniques. You see, one is the memory doesn't have to go away necessarily, but the emotional charge can lessen. And that's good processing. Yeah.
That would be so important to go through with a therapist like you, right? Because yes, you say that, we have to express ourselves either by journaling or, whoever has affected the person, whoever has caused the trauma to the person. Is it like good to go through that by yourself? Like, go,
so,
like, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in my online course, I teach you how to do that on your own. And I also advise that if it's a very traumatic experience, it's good to share these exercises with your counselor, with a therapist, so they can walk you through them. Yeah, because they're quite complete exercises. So what to do is not to be afraid of the feelings that come up. So I encourage people to look at the scene, the memory, then notice what feelings are coming up. Is it anger, sadness, shame, all those things? Then the interpretation they have about themselves, like, I'm not safe, I'm going to die, I'm not good enough, whatever these interpretations come at that event. Then the physical sensation as well. It could be a taste, it could be a sensation in the body, it could be a smell, whatever comes up. And in that, then I teach you how to process that that memory as you're connected to all the sensations, the memory, the physical feeling, the emotional feeling, and what else did I say? The interpretation. Yeah, the interpretation about yourself during the trauma. So yes, for a lot of traumas, I believe that people can do it themselves, and there's techniques out there, emotional freedom technique, EMDR, etc. However, there are some cases where, especially if you feel you're losing control or you don't feel safe doing it, then definitely seek help with a therapist. Because what can happen is a lot of hidden memories or deep trauma can resurface, and you might not have the grounding to deal with them when they come up.
Right.
And also, when you deal with trauma, remember that because you've come to terms, or you're bringing up strong emotions, you can feel depressed for a while after processing trauma because your body just collapses. Yeah, and that's normal. So always do trauma therapy in conjunction, I think, with a therapist. But use the techniques in the online course; they'll help you, and you can always take these techniques to your therapist as well.
Great. Yes. That's excellent. And I encourage everyone to look at Dr. Ameet's online program. I did share the information on the link, and I will do that again. So, don't suffer there by yourself. There is help out there, and you can reach out. So, with that said, I do want to say thank you to all the viewers that have joined our Facebook Live. If you have any questions, comments, you can, type them and we will address them for you. If you like something, you can give us a thumbs up. If you really love something, you can give us a heart. So,
I love heart.
Yes. Okay. So, Dr. Ameet, I know a huge part of your practice is emotional well-being, emotional health, and a very common thing that people present with is anxiety and depression. I want to know, how do you approach that in your practice, and how do you treat it? I know you may be doing a lot of things, but I want to hear it from you.
Okay. So just to remind people, I'm a naturopathic doctor and a psychotherapist and a family constellations therapist, which we'll talk about. So first, when somebody comes in, I do a timeline. I do a timeline journal with them. Okay, when did this anxiety and depression start? Have there been traumatic events that have contributed to this emotional state? Yeah, number one. And it doesn't even have to be trauma. It could be a belief system. It could be, you're hanging on to a tradition, a family tradition that is so dysfunctional to your life right now, because maybe you're brought up thinking you have to hang on to an abusive marriage, even if it's abusive, and you remain depressed. Yeah. So looking at belief systems as well, and peeling away those belief systems so that you are in connection with your soul, with your authenticity, with your power, with your spiritual strength. Yeah, rather than inundated with information that's dysfunctional to you. So we get people to a place of source, of truth, of spirituality, I can say, of essence. And if there are traumatic events, then we heal those, yeah, using psychotherapy, EMDR, family constellation therapy, and I do Gestalt psychotherapy. That's one part. At the same time, I always fix the physiology of a person. So why does physiology, your physical body, affect mental health? So I'll go through it very quickly, and most of you have heard this. So leaky gut syndrome. So we have the stomach and you have the intestines. Your intestines are like a nice tube, a nice lining, kept healthy by good bacteria and good food. Over time, with antibiotic use, poor diet, birth control pill, etc., the good bacteria get killed off, lining gets damaged, right? When the lining is damaged, you get holes in the intestine, toxins go into the bloodstream, cause inflammation everywhere, that causes asthma, eczema, arthritis, etc. All this chronic inflammation actually requires cortisol from your adrenal system. So this inflammation causes a cortisol imbalance and therefore a brain chemical imbalance, leading to anxiety and depression, number one. Number two, also, the inflammation then causes toxicity, autotoxicity, right? So there's toxins from the environment and from chemicals and pesticides, and there's also toxicity created by chronic inflammation in your body. That toxicity, those toxins go to the liver, and the liver is the master controller of hormones as well in Chinese medicine. So when your liver is imbalanced, you get a progesterone deficiency or an estrogen dominance or just some hormonal imbalance, and that also leads to anxiety and depression. You see, progesterone is needed to help GABA, a neurotransmitter, work better in your brain, and GABA helps reduce anxiety. So when somebody has a progesterone deficiency, they can get a lot of anxiety and tearfulness, etc., especially during PMS. So we heal the physiology. How do we do that? We fix leaky gut. That's really important. That's using the probiotics, certain foods, changing the diet. And then, I think Meghna's disappeared, but I think you're still there. No problem. Okay. And then we detoxify the liver, and I share how some herbs and homeopathic remedies in the online course and in the book on how to do that. And then, now that's the basics, right? Stabilizing inflammation and toxicity. Then somebody who's burnt out. So I've worked with a lot of people who, like NGO and UN people who have worked in Somalia, they're completely burnt out. Other people who, like CEOs, etc., who are completely stressed and burnt out. Their adrenal glands are shot. So no matter how much therapy you do on them and how much you fix their gut and inflammation, they don't recover until you support their adrenal system. And that's super important. Yeah, there I use certain herbs. Again, rhodiola, ashwagandha, depending on the person. And there's other herbs, of course, that I talk about in the book. So one of them is ginseng as well, astragalus. And then I also use homeopathic remedies to treat burnout. Yeah, the special remedies, phosphoric acid, califos, those are fantastic remedies also for burnout. They just help the adrenal glands come out of that compensated state and help the herbs work much better. Yeah, because if you only do the herbs without releasing the stressful response that the body has programmed itself into, then you're constantly dependent on herbs. So you have to change the programming as well through the psychotherapy, through homeopathic remedies, and then build up or nourish the adrenal system. So it's a very complete approach. Yeah, you cannot only do therapy, you cannot only do counseling, and you cannot only do physical healing. Both have to happen together for optimal well-being.
Thank you. That's amazing. I love your holistic approach, and I think naturopathic medicine does offer that, right? You're using, botanical medicine, homeopathy, psychotherapy. There are so many tools in your toolkit to help the patient, because we know that the standard treatment for anxiety and depression could be a pill that's prescribed, for a person to use. And it doesn't help them deal with the actual situation and treat the cause that's actually causing them to feel this way. But I think the way you approach it in such a comprehensive manner, psychologically, physiologically, I think that's very important for the healing. So thank you for the work that you do.
Pleasure, yeah. We have to leave no stone unturned, right? So naturopathic doctors are wonderful people to approach for mental health. They save people a lot of chronic therapy, continuous therapy, because sometimes it might be just a food sensitivity. I had a patient who had depression for literally 20 years, and she tried Reiki, psychotherapy, etc. Even when she first came to me, I just defaulted to psychotherapy. And then after 3 sessions, I was like, no, this is not right. Let's do it properly. And then we just eliminated certain foods. And it happened to be that gluten was causing her depression. And literally within a week, after 20 years of depression and crying, within a week, we cut out gluten and she was fine.
It's amazing, isn't it? Yeah, we've seen these cases, and it makes us believe how much that food, the inflammation that it was causing for so many years, just eliminating that changed a person's life. It's amazing. Yes.
Exactly. So mental illness is not only the mind. Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to acknowledge, thank you, Tom Gibbons, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you have joined us and enjoying our talk here. So I encourage all of you who find this information helpful, do share it, on Facebook, share it with your friends and family. You can email this. This video is going to be saved. It's very valuable information here. So thank you, Dr. Ameet. So let's see. I'm going to ask you to share an example of emotional healing exercise from your book, just like as a practical experience.
Okay. Gosh, there's so many. One is journaling, simple journaling, yeah? So what you can do is draw a timeline from birth till present time. And then according to, in chronological order, write down the events that have been disturbing for you in your life, or even any hospitalizations, any family members that fell sick, etc. When your mom went on holiday, even when you were very young and you felt abandoned, or you might not even have felt abandoned, but there was an absence of your mom or parents. Write certain things down, right? And if it's too painful to write it down, just put a dot there or just leave it alone, but just know where it belongs in the timeline. And then you can also write some good things that have happened to you in your timeline to balance both things, yeah? A lot of people focus only on the negative. I think it's important to include the positive as well. And then just sit back and observe that your life and from afar. And what you can do is also you can imagine that you're observing your hand or this timeline in a screen that's far away from you. So you're looking at like almost double removed, like in third person. That can give a lot of people a sense of control back in their lives, or they get a paradigm shift, a perspective shift about what they've been, how they've been preoccupied with certain events in their life. Then what I ask people to do is write continuously, pick one event, maybe the most present one or the safest one you feel dealing with, and write continuously for 5 minutes straight, or even 20 minutes if you have the time, continuously without taking your pen off the paper, with the intention of healing and self-forgiveness and expressing anger, whatever comes to mind, with the intention of, so it's good to have intention sometimes. So I intend to feel better again after this. I intend to release some anger. I intend to express myself. I intend to connect with this deep pain so that I can release any sorrow and helplessness and regain my power. Yeah, so creating an intention is super important in life, in healing. And continue writing with this intention. As you continue writing, you don't take your pen off the paper, and even if other thoughts come in, any unrelated thoughts come in, write those down. If a cabbage comes into your mind, or a dog, or a pencil, or whatever comes into your mind, write about it. Just express whatever images come in. And slowly, slowly, you'll notice the emotional charge in your body shifting that's related to the event. And you say certain things, you'll get more clarity. Yeah. And I want you to experiment with using different words now about the event. The words, a lot of people don't realize that a strong emotion that keeps them depressed is a sense of disappointment. So I felt very disappointed when you did this, and expressing the disappointment. So they get in touch with a deeper feeling rather than hurt. When you say, I felt hurt, some people get stuck in that hurt sentence, yeah? When you go deeper and say, I felt disappointed or betrayed, or I didn't expect it, then you can breathe, and they can breathe and say, oh, wow, that feels more clear. Yeah, so continue writing that, and then put that aside for the day. And after you're looking at it, you can also tap left and right on your collarbones. That will also help process the trauma. Then put that aside. Then the next day you can pick a new event. Yeah, try not to do more than 2 events in a day, actually, or even 1 event if it's a very strong event, because your body and your brain need time to adjust and process a lot of emotions. Because if you go on to the next deep pain, I believe then your body puts processing of what you're dealing with on the side and gives priority to now what you're focusing on. And then now we have an unfinished therapy going on that you might forget to deal with later on. So I like to do one at a time. And yeah, and also write about what you believe, what you began to believe when that trauma happened, I believed I was not worth it. I believed I was not loved. I believed I was not safe anymore, or anyone could take advantage of me. These are the beliefs that I started to live with, and I got these beliefs from the event, or maybe from my parents, because my mom didn't intervene fast enough, or my mom went through the same thing, and I thought this was normal. And so you develop self-awareness. You realize, gosh, these beliefs I've been having, I thought was normal behavior, are actually swallowed beliefs. They're not necessarily helping me live a full, happy, expressive life. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're releasing emotions and looking at beliefs, becoming aware of beliefs. And that's where a therapist really helps. Doing this with a therapist really helps, because therapists are trained, especially Gestalt therapists, and well, there's so many other therapies out there, but they're trained to help you look at what beliefs you're operating with.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. I want to thank Kaushal as well. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this is such important information. And Dr. Ameet, I really like how, in a structured way, you are sharing this, and how to deal with this, how to journal, how to write, rather than randomly write things, right? But I do see the power of it. Like personally, I have had a diary for years, and like writing has been very therapeutic for me personally. And actually, when the times that were challenging for me, or the events that I went through in my life that were very challenging, and I know at those times I even wrote more. And going back, I look at the patterns of how I was stuck in the same situations. Actually, I can go back and learn from it, and maybe not do that same thing that I didn't like the outcome of, So it is so helpful. Yeah. So thank you for sharing.
Meghna, it shows, you're so expressive, you're so authentic, there's confidence in your voice, you sound full, because I think you've done your work, you don't look so compensated. So it feels healthy being around you. So yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I believe in authenticity. Really, I do. And I think a journal is a way you can really be yourself. You don't have to be diplomatic. You don't have to worry about being judged, which anyways, I don't like to be. I want to be more authentic, but the world around me, I feel, is so much like that it's difficult for me sometimes to deal with people. I've learned to have my boundaries and deal, Again, I don't want to get into my personal things. We are learning a lot, but that's how we learn from each other too, right? So
you've just given me a personal insight. Actually, you've given me a very deep insight. I've just realized through listening to you that journaling is a non-judgmental way of expressing or communicating with the outside world. So sometimes we cannot talk to somebody how we feel, but when you journal, it's almost like somebody's listening, and you're not judged, right? So in a way, you create a safe space in your mind about life, and then that can be like a container for your safety. So that when you go out in life, you have that sense of safety within you. So it's easier to talk more authentically with people because you've done the journaling. This is the theory I'm creating. I'm going to test it out myself. I like it.
Excellent. Yay. Great. So Dr. Ameet, please share with us how people can benefit by joining your online program. If you can tell our audience more about it, who can benefit from it? How can they benefit from it?
Okay, so the online course is based on my book and lectures I've given around the world. So I teach every year in different countries, and it's a very in-depth approach to healing the mind and the body together. Because as you know now, the mind is affected by the body, so we have to heal the basics of health, right? Leaky gut, adrenal fatigue, inflammation, and liver toxicity. And at the same time, I give these powerful exercises to work layer by layer on emotional traumas, beliefs, etc. The other thing that my online course has is a very in-depth lecture on homeopathy, using homeopathic remedies for stress and trauma. So there's different remedies for example, rape, or for abandonment, or for financial loss. And I talk about each and every different remedy that you can use to help you on your journey. So it's a very integrated approach where I hold your hand through the different modalities naturopathic doctors use, and I give enough detail so that it makes sense to a lot of people. So I get a lot of emails from people saying, hey, things are getting better. I started with PMS symptoms, a lot of anxiety, headaches, etc. And after 2 weeks of doing the course, I'm already noticing the difference. And then, if they need some more information, then they book a session so we can go more specific on the remedy. But the course provides a very, I guess, strong guideline on how to heal the basics of your health and how to work through some emotional events in your life so you become more resilient. You become more self-sufficient, authentic, clear, and healthy. Yeah, so you're collapsing less into mental issues and physical issues. I mean, people with PCOS and fibroids and cysts and digestive issues, insomnia, etc., are also benefiting from the course. Because remember, as naturopathic doctors, we're healing the system, the body system. We're not treating diseases. Yeah, diseases emerge from an imbalanced system. And I've put together all the avenues that I've learned to heal, I guess, the 5 systems of your health, which is inflammation and leaky gut, liver toxicity, adrenal fatigue, emotional trauma, and then lifestyle. Yeah, so I teach you breathing techniques, etc. So that, and yoga, mentioning yoga and other things you can do to have a healthy lifestyle as well. So when you heal those 5 systems, many diseases peel away. So don't focus on the disease, focus on the systems.
Excellent. Yes. So I encourage you guys to, work with Dr. Ameet, purchase his online program, purchase his book. And the great thing is, if you do that, it's also benefiting his charity, FIM Africa. That's awesome. I think that is so neat. So, Dr. Ameet, what made you decide to do the mobile clinics? How did this start with you? What is your mission with your charity?
Holy. I don't know. It was like we call it a doo-doo in the brain here in Kenya. Doo-doo means insect. It was just a passion I had to be in the bush and to. I started off doing it first by volunteering. Before I became a naturopathic doctor, I was volunteering with a naturopath from Bastir, Catherine Youngblood was her name, and we went out to the Samburu tribe in northern Kenya, and I fell in love with the medicine. That's where I learned about medicine, and I wanted to come back to Africa and just be in the communities. So I studied naturopathic medicine and psychotherapy. Then I came back and I did the mobile clinics for a while. And then I ran out of funding, so I had to start my own private practice. But in the meantime, I wrote and published the book and created the online course so that if there's enough sales, then I don't have to depend on funding. I wanted to be self-funded. And next week, I have some people from Switzerland coming to evaluate the mobiles and see if we can at least generate some initial funding to set up income-generating projects to continue the mobile clinics. And what was I going to say? Yeah, now what we're going to do is we're going to approach it through education. So we're going to do the mobile clinics, and I'm going to educate as many doctors and nurses as I can in Kenya on this integrated approach. So healing the gut, inflammation, etc. Because a lot of poor people are overwhelmed by antibiotics and poor diagnosis and just over-medicated. And by using this 5 systems approach, or this, I call it the happiness program, a lot of chronic diseases peel away and they need less medication. So on my mobile clinics, I'm going to be giving out my book to local health workers in the area. I encourage people those listening to please buy my book in large quantities and donate them to charities, churches, organizations, send them to other countries where people need a more integrated approach to their health, because it saves them money, it helps them go to school. Like I've had children who could not go to school, I don't know, for 3 to 5 years because of asthma or whatever, right? And by just healing the basics of their health, they could go to school again. So you're giving children a future by targeting their health. And also you're lessening the burden of poverty and financial stress by helping people heal the root cause. So yeah, just whatever we can do.
Absolutely. I wish you the best on your mission. It's amazing. Not only you're using naturopathic comprehensive medicine, psychotherapy, but you are helping your community, it's service to humanity, from your heart and your soul that you're providing to the people, I think, which gives the most satisfaction to a human being, if you can be helpful to another one.
I'm trying to, Meghna. I'm trying to. It's hard because,
I
you know,
know,
like,
but it's amazing
yeah,
that you've gone
yeah, with
back to
funding it's
Kenya.
easy. With funding it's easy. Yeah, without funding, then I have to put a hold on it and work in private practice, and then yeah, we start again. So it's a cycle. It's up and down. It's up and down, but it's going to
But
take off
the
really,
fact
really
that
big.
you have done this and you keep going, that just makes you
Yeah,
amazing.
I
So,
love doing it. It's I love doing it, and it's so good to see these people in remote communities change their lives. You know,
of
they
course,
don't know the difference. Like, you know, when I treat with homeopathy, they don't know that it's natural medicine. They just, because they see pills from other places as well, but they're
right.
like, Doctor Mead, there's something different about your medicine. A lot of difficult diseases or chronic diseases are going away. Why is yours different, right? And so it's nice to hear that. And it's hard to explain to them what homeopathy is, of course, but they're noticing the difference between holistic medicine and conventional medicine. So it's nice.
Yeah, and that's great. I
Yeah.
think you are there with your loving heart to help them, and they are open to accepting it and seeing the difference, right? Sometimes I think the challenge with homeopathy here in the US, just sharing, is like, you get so much into the detail about what is the name of the medicine, researching that, it's very difficult to explain it as well, because it works at an energetic level,
Yeah.
so yeah. So I like how people respond to you and respond to the treatment. That's great. So
Yeah. Homeopathy is one of the best naturopathic modalities out there. Like, I don't think I could practice naturopathic medicine without doing homeopathy.
yes, fantastic. And you have pharmacies in Kenya that make the homeopathic. Is it manufactured there? Or do
Sorry, the line is breaking in and out.
okay,
So we do get our medicines from different sources, and then
okay,
when volunteers come, they also bring some from overseas.
okay.
And if I'm traveling, I'll get some as well. And then I have different friends who have them as well. So it's available. It's available.
Wonderful. And I am hopeful that I can bring some homeopathy and come and work at your mobile clinic one day in Kenya.
Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Yes, I'd love to come. So
Oh, this is good.
that's great. So we've had a wonderful discussion so far. I know we have to
Yeah,
watch the time as well, but
yeah.
thank you for your time and all your knowledge today. Before we end, I want you to share one practical thing that a person who feels depressed or low or just not like themselves, what can they do today to improve that?
Wow. First of all, forgiving themselves for feeling low. Don't be hard on yourself. And then use pain, use anxiety, use depression as a pathway to find out the root cause. Yeah, love your symptoms, love your body. So say, okay, I'm upset. Why am I upset? Is it because my mom abandoned me? She didn't listen to me? Or is it because I have a gluten sensitivity? Use your symptoms as a gift. They're not your enemy. Yeah. And then take the online course, read the book, whatever, to treat the foundations of health, the gut, the liver, the adrenal system, and then do the exercises. Yeah, the tapping, the journaling. There's a permission to heal exercise and a forgiveness exercise that is very powerful for a lot of people, and it brings a lot of changes because it helps resolve certain blocks we have to our own healing. And then also, we didn't talk about this yet, but I don't know if we have time to talk about family constellations therapy.
Yes, yes, please tell me
Very,
more about it.
very, very important therapy, because now this is beyond psychotherapy. This is a very powerful technique that I use so much in my practice now, where we look at the imbalance in your family system. We also look at traumas that have happened to your parents, to your grandparents, that you as a child are carrying unconsciously for the parent. So, for example, I've had a patient who was getting into abusive relationships with alcoholic partners. And when we investigated, it was like her mom had also done that, right? And so that was her comfort level. That was where she was comfortable being at, strangely. And then when we looked at it further, it was almost like if she was happier than her mom in a relationship, she would feel guilty. There was a strange sense of loyalty to her mother's misery. And so I encourage people to look at these loyalties, yeah, and address the guilt of being happier than a parent. Or, for example, if somebody has had an abortion or a miscarriage and they don't acknowledge the loss of that child in a proper way, sometimes they remain anxious or unfulfilled or depressed, or they get fibroid issues or PMS issues because of an unresolved abortion or miscarriage. And then if you're a child, and this, like, family constellations is a therapy that helps deal with these unresolved life events. If you're the child of a mom who has had a miscarriage before you, but you don't know about it, or you haven't acknowledged that miscarried child, then you will assume that you're the firstborn child, but in actuality, you're the second soul in the family system. And when you recognize your real place, and I help clients do that, then a lot of stress comes off the body, a lot of pain, because being in the correct position, being in the second position in the family system, gives you a true sense of your identity according to your soul family. And I've seen this time and time again resolve anxiety and depression. Yeah, more than psychotherapy, more than homeopathy. It's amazing. I've used it for victims of trauma, people who've had a history of their grandparents being in the Second World War, or people traumatized by the Nazis. All these different things actually pass on through generations, and we're carrying that as children. We're carrying these generational traumas, and there's more and more research in epigenetics proving that children carry ancestral trauma, and there's techniques we can use to heal this, to give back to our parents their pain that does not belong to us as children. But we don't do it in a bad way. We do it in a way that honors the parents. Yeah, when you can honor your parents for their pain, for carrying their pain, and be humble enough to remain the child in the child position to your parents without trying to steal away the integrity or the pain of your parents, then you actually empower your parents more, because you respect their fate and their journey. And then your heart feels more complete, and then you can love more fully and clearly in your relationships, and you can have healthy partnerships. So some people who carry the pain or trauma or responsibility that belong to their parents, they cannot love fully. They cannot love their partners fully. And so they go into betrayals or dysfunctional relationships or the blame game. There's just a lot of disharmony in relationships if you don't heal trauma from previous generations or from your parents. So yeah, one of the best therapies I've come across, to be honest.
Yeah, family constellations therapy, people. Yes, great. Okay. Thank you again, Dr. Ameet. This was amazing information. And people, if you need help, this was a great talk. Do reach out to Dr. Ameet. He is amazing, knowledgeable, caring physician that I know. So
thank you, Meghna. Thanks for this opportunity, and thanks everyone for listening. And hopefully you'll get something out of it. Do the steps, get yourself back on your life path. Look at your beliefs, let go of some of them that keep you disempowered, and take a risk. Yeah, just create a new identity for yourself, because don't think that your depression is your personality. It's not. It's an adjusted behavior, and it's an identity that you've borrowed for a time that passed.
yes, absolutely. And Dr. Amit, we have Kaushal, my friend. Thank you, Kaushal. She says, thanks, Meghna and Amit, for a very informative and insightful session. Keep up the good work always. Thank you, Kaushal. You are an amazing person too, and I learn a lot from you as well. Yeah.
You are, Meghna.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right.
So thank
Have
you.
a wonderful night. Good night to you. And I will get going with the rest of my day. Okay.
Okay, my dear. Take it easy.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.